Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumele Lezondi with your technology and social media news. We hope you still are staying indoors and keeping safe unless you have to go to work or unless you have to do those essentials. In order for you to get hold of us, it's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. On email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you think there's more space for large meeting platforms. This as Facebook has launched its messenger rooms. Results of that are coming up later in the program. But first, here's what's coming up tonight. We find out how hackathons and other coding classes can be held in the time of COVID-19 lockdowns. We have a review of the LG G8x ThinQ smartphone. And our discussion is looking at who the arbiter of truth is in the time of social media, seemingly removing some posts or flagging some posts if they find that what's been shared has been untrue. Social distancing has been a bit difficult, especially when people have to queue up to receive certain services. But there are online platform creators who say they have created apps that can help with this. As COVID-19 cases are expected to rise with more people going to work now, universities reopening and school kids expected back in class, social distancing might be a problem. Keeping the 1 meter distance has already been a challenge with those queuing up for supermarkets, social grants and other services. Digital Q is an app that can help with that.
Digital Q is an app that is meant to assist organizations to distribute the access to their venues. For example, if you talk about shopping malls, if you talk about places like home affairs, places like licensing centers, we want them to distribute the access. And by distributing the access, I mean people only go there at a certain time.
Digital Q is new, but it can help even after the COVID-19 lockdown.
When you tap your bank card on the speed point, you are actually using the NFC technology. And if I use my phone for that technology, I go to a venue and then I will tap it on a particular tag that is available there. It will immediately indicate that I've arrived. It will give me a record that I've been in this place, but it will also give the people of that particular place a record that I have visited the place at a particular time.
Mwepe Seduna's Vaya Seduna has been nominated in the Global Health Summit. He created the Let's Talk app after watching his grandmother walk to a local clinic in Qwaqwa to find that her medication wasn't ready. With Let's Talk, she wouldn't have to queue as she'd know beforehand if her medication is ready or not.
Let's Talk is a two-way communication platform between citizens and government. The pilots that we're doing in Limpopo with Thulamela, the communities are using it like daily to report issues, to report on what's important.
Let's Talk has also received United Nations funding and assistance. So there are local solutions to help us cut the queue. It's now up to the organizations that need them to sign up, so they make the lives of citizens easier. Geek Culture is planning to host a number of hackathons starting in July. But what's been raised previously by others is that these are difficult to do as there is a lockdown currently going on in South Africa at the moment. They say they're easier to do if you can have one-on-one communication with those that are participating in this.
Many schools and companies saw themselves having to adapt to new ways of operating due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to stay afloat, both these sectors were forced to not only continue operations from their living rooms, but to also heavily depend on the digital space. Though a great move for the advancement of the fourth industrial revolution, the influx migration to the digital world increases the number of cyber attacks.
Well, I think, when people are working within the corporate environment, the IT department takes care of everything that they need to worry about. They've got their laptop, there's the firewall protecting the network. When they're at home, really, they don't have all of those inbuilt protections. And therefore, it's very, very important that they think about protection. Now, if they work for a large company which is used to people working remotely, it may well be that there's a virtual private network connection to keep things secure. It may well be that the laptop is remotely managed. But in many cases, with small and medium-sized businesses in particular, there isn't that protection. And certainly if people are using their own devices for leisure or for keeping in touch with family and friends, then they need to think about security.
#SafeHack by South African youth ICT platform Geek Culture is a hackathon that aims to tackle and give solutions to cybersecurity issues. Only this one will take place virtually in adherence to social distancing regulations.
A lot of things have gone virtual. Right now we are doing this call virtually as well. And similarly, even though hackathons were, meant to be hosted in person, they too had to pivot to going virtual.
The hackathon also aims to introduce software developers to security-based solutions.
Very often participants of hackathons are just developers. So they come from a computer science background, a software development background, and all they know is development. So what SafeHack is doing is it's trying to bring these people who are beginners in security. They may be experts in software development, but they are beginners in security, and we want to get them to start thinking as to how they can secure their solutions by design.
The #SafeHack virtual hackathon kickstarts on the 10th of July and ends on the 12th.
Once upon a time, LG was the world's third most popular smartphone brand after Apple and Samsung. It was later overtaken by Huawei, which also later overtook Samsung. But with China's spat with America, Huawei can't now use those American products that we are familiar with, like Google. So could this be a chance for the likes of LG to make a comeback with their Android and other American products? So this week we are reviewing the LG G8x ThinQ smartphone. This phone was first seen in 2019, so it's not necessarily new, but it has some cool features. No, LG has never been afraid to experiment. In the past, they even had phones that curve in shape. They used to say it curves with the shape of your face. Well, now they've gone back to basics and have a phone that is straight like others. While it is flat, they've gone even one better and given us a second screen, which you'll find out about just now. This at a time when many have phones that fold. The dual screen feature is really what sets it apart. Some will find it weird or remind them of some very old school pre-smartphone devices. The second screen is detachable. You can separate your screens and perhaps work on one screen while watching video on another. It would be great for watching content. The water-resistant phone does have a beautiful glossy display, but many phones do nowadays. The LG G8x ThinQ dual screen also has an SD slot if you need more storage. Because we live in the social media era, you probably want to know about the camera for those Insta moments. It's not the best in the market. There are two rare cameras, a 16 megapixel super wide and a 12 megapixel camera. That's okay. There's an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with time of flight sensor. Online, Vodacom For You had it at over 11,000 Rand on prepaid. Cellucity also had it at about 11,000 Rand when I checked. Both pretty good deals for what it does. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about who the arbiter of truth is in the world where social media is either removing posts or flagging them if they find that what's been shared is untrue. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, welcome back. Now, Brazilian President Bolsonaro has had a post removed by Facebook. It claimed that a cure for COVID-19 has been found. While Twitter, on the other hand, has flagged a couple of posts by American President Donald Trump.
In recent days, the world's largest social media platforms have been pulling out all the stops to combat the wave of false reports that have been spreading like wildfires. Twitter, which has long had a mechanism by which it can flag content disseminated by public figures, used it for the first time against President Trump's content, noting that his claims were misleading. Facebook, Twitter and YouTube have all removed a video shared by Brazilian president for infringing on their misinformation policies.
We had a case recently where the Brazilian president was saying that hydroxychloroquine was proven by scientists to be safe, and we had to make the difficult decision of taking that down.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg says it was not up to internet platforms to pace truth from fiction.
But I don't think that Facebook or internet platforms in general should be arbiters of truth. I think that's a kind of a dangerous line to get down to.
Those in the tech industry say social media companies should bear responsibility for the content that people post on their platforms.
The social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the public responsibility as to what is published. Because as editor, I cannot determine which contents are posted on Facebook.
Trump announced that he will introduce legislation that may weaken a law that has long protected internet companies, but experts say this will undermine free speech.
This latest idea, this executive order, is going to really just become a talk piece and not necessarily a method of action, since it would undermine free expression principles.
Professionals say websites like Twitter are not traditional public platforms, and they require all users to agree to the terms of service. If users violate these terms, their accounts are subject to suspension.
As this happened, I had a conversation with Dr. Shepherd Mpofu from the University of Limpopo. The question we were trying to figure out is who the arbiter of truth is in the age of social media. Dr. Shepherd Mpofu, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight. But maybe first of all, before we get to the two presidents, if we can start with issues that have happened in America of late, starting with Blackout Tuesday, which we recently had. Do you think such social media campaigns create the right kind of awareness and the right kind of conversation about issues facing Black people, whether in America, South Africa, or anywhere else in the world?
I think the Blackout Tuesday on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and other social media networks is quite an important activist tool or activist voice in what's going on currently in the USA. And it helps to a certain extent the cause of the Black Lives Matter movement. But at the same time, it creates a huge problem in that the black tiles that we see on social media are not communicating much, as it were. There is no information, there is no commentary, there is no text, there are no videos, and there are no images. In a place where police are shooting people, where shops are being looted, where violence still happens in the US. So to a certain extent, the amount of black tiles that you come across when you scroll through social media sites actually blocks that kind of information that is necessary to inform people about what's going on and to also take necessary action.
How do we ensure that Black Lives Matter messaging doesn't just get lost in social media hashtags and that actual real change happens in the real world and that people participate in what goes on in the real world and not just tweet about it?
So the black tiles, they don't necessarily create a new form of awareness, as it were, but they help to accentuate the struggles that the black people are going through in the US and those who support them. what they see, what they make of it. So the posting of the black images, in as much as it is important, is not creating any new awareness, but rather it's helping to further a certain type of message, which is the desperation of the black people, the suffering of the black people, and the fact that they are seen as not to matter by the establishment in the US.
One of the tweets that was flagged by Twitter is a tweet that President Donald Trump sent out about how the police should be dealing with protesters, and it was in a very violent manner, according to the tweet that was sent out. Now, perhaps, do you think that Twitter flagging that post and any other similar post, for that matter, is actually infringing on freedom of expression?
World leaders and influential people have a critical role to play in society, and their behaviors and their utterances in the media actually influences some people to take certain actions or to behave in certain ways. And the removal of their irresponsible or harmful commentary on social media cannot be considered as censorship as such, because of the power that these people wield. Imagine if a president was to say you have to drink detergents in order to prevent yourself from getting the coronavirus or to heal yourself from the coronavirus. What would happen to people? So those dangers can be easily averted, especially when social media platforms intervene and delete, censor, stop, or remove, or even flag those kinds of posts.
Does this then not interfere with the quality of conversation that can take place on those social media platforms?
Social media already plays a critical role in some democracies as sites for organization, sites for communication with the leaders, sites for protest, and also of creating networks across the world. So social media is quite critical in that regard, and it helps also citizens to create alliances. The Black Lives Matter movement in the US, for instance, and whatever is happening there, the protest marches, they are influencing and creating alliances with some people in South Africa who want to do the same and march to US embassies in protest of what is happening to black people. So in democracies, you find that they augment people's rights to protest and also to engage the political leaders and the world leaders at large.
Who should be the arbiter of truth on social media, and should there even be one?
Social media platforms are replete with fake information, with incitement and other forms of negative communication that might affect society, and therefore there is need for people who consume such information on these platforms to be extra careful, because the information doesn't go through a professional communicator. Therefore, there's a risk that some of the information could be untruthful, could be unscientific, and even dangerous, especially when taken without fact-checking, and that poses a lot of problems. Therefore, it's upon the platforms to become sort of active in flagging out such information or even removing such information that is deemed inconsistent with public safety, with public health, and even public morality.
Well, Dr. Shepherd Mbofu, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Social media turned the color black last Tuesday as the music industry and stars including Rihanna, Drake, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Kylie Jenner and others showed their support for Blackout Tuesday. The celebrities took to their Instagram pages posting messages in support of the Black Lives Matter movement using the hashtag Blackout Tuesday. Rapper Drake simply commented side by side next to a black image, while heavily pregnant singer Katy Perry's post read, "I hope that hashtag Blackout Tuesday gives us all an opportunity to take what we are learning and put it into action on Wednesday and every day going forward." And now in Russia. The country's search engine Yandex presented the fourth generation of its self-driving car, developed in collaboration with South Korean car parts company Hyundai Mobis.
This is the first one which we developed together with a company from automotive segment. So we did it together with Hyundai Mobis engineers, and they helped our systems and their computers communicate with each other. So it was actually not a trial and error process like we did with the previous cars, but it was more about actually working together. Two teams of engineers work together to make sure that the commands from our computer are understood by the systems of the car.
Yandex, with over 30 offices globally, has been listed on the Nasdaq since 2011. Its services include food delivery and a ride-sharing business with Uber in Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia and Kazakhstan, among other countries, and now in South Korea. An autonomous robot equipped with an LED screen greets visitors at the lobby of the headquarters of SK Telecom downtown Seoul. It not only checks body temperatures, dispenses hand sanitizers and disinfects the floor, it also polices who is wearing and who's not wearing a face mask.
사실 처음에 로봇이 한다고 해서 조금 이질감이 느껴졌는데 막상 저희 아까도 막 같이 이렇게 직원들이랑 얘기하고 있다가 로봇이 사회적 거리를 위해 뭐 떨어져 주세요 했을 때 저도 모르게 이렇게 막 움직이게 되더라고요. 그때 너무 신기했고.
It sets off an alarm if anyone's temperature is over 37.5 degrees Celsius, while embodying artificial intelligence technology to detect gatherings and advise people to disperse and wear a mask if anyone does not. The developers said they added a function to hide faces mirrored in the screen to protect people's privacy.
As Facebook launches its Messenger rooms, this week our Twitter poll is asking you if you think there's still space for more meeting platforms. And that's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email from me and the rest of the team. Stay home and stay safe.